Dianne Reeves is the preeminent jazz vocalist of our time, but her artistry goes far beyond the confines of just jazz. Dianne is a composer, lyricist, band leader, a voice and spokesperson for our music, an NEA jazz master, a doctor of fine arts from the Juilliard, an open studio artist, a 5-time Grammy winner, a co-star with George Clooney in the multiple Academy Award-winning film Good Night and Good Luck, and many, many, many other accolades. But perhaps most importantly, she is my dear friend and musical compatriot of 25 plus years. Please welcome Dianne Reeves.
Hey.
Hey.
That was good. Thank you. Wow.
Welcome, Dianne. You know, after many, many years of you introducing me on stage and me occasionally introducing you on stage, probably like 1 to 1,000 ratio, I wanted to try to bring it. So I'm so glad you took a few minutes out of your busy schedule to talk to us here on the pod.
Yeah, we all busy, it seems like, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So does this find you back in your home in Denver? I know that you've been moving around some lately.
Yeah, I've been moving around a lot, getting ready to get out of here tomorrow for the first annual Jazz Awards that will be happening down in Atlanta. So I'm really excited about going there and being a part of kicking that off because it's greatly needed.
Yes.
And then after that, I just continue moving.
Nice. Well, I look forward to hearing about that. I've been hearing great things about the preparation for that, and I think that's going to be a cool thing. So one thing I was thinking, like, we could talk about, different phases of your career. I think everybody is so well aware of
you froze.
Many different aspects. You've done so much, and you have so much more to do, and you're always doing a lot of things. But just recently, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and I want to talk about Sheryl Lee Ralph singing Endangered Species at the Emmys, because that kind of thrust you out there again from a song that you wrote. That was that early 90s, mid 90s? I mean, it's been around.
That was 1994. That was a wild experience, so I understand what people say when they, when their stuff, takes off on the social media. That was just a little bit of what I've seen people experience. But yeah, I didn't even get to see it. As a matter of fact, I was shopping and Terry Lynn Carrington called me up. She said, "You're on the Emmys." I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm at home." She said, "No." Just saying endangered species. I was like, "What?" So I ran home, and of course it was live, so I missed it. But of course, Twitter never fails. So I went on Twitter and I saw the whole thing, and I was just totally blown away. Wow. She's always liked that song, and she's always sung it. And she has this thing that she does every year, Divas Simply Sing, and it's for health, women's health. And so, she's always sung it, but I mean, I never would have thought that. And then when that happened, my phone just for about 3 days was just on fire.
Yeah.
Well, it was the moment of the show.
It was.
It really was such a special moment. I wonder if you could tell us about the origin of writing the song. You said it's from a 1994 album.
Yeah.
What's the genesis like?
Well, the album was called Art and Survival, and I was really in a place where I was like art and survival. That's why it was called that. And it was a record that I did that I thought at that time that maybe this might be the end of my career. But I wanted to say all the things that I needed to say. And, if that was the end, at least people knew who I am and what I was about. I mean, it didn't end up that way, but when you're young, you think things are going to end. So, but I was really, really happy, to do that record. It was produced by Eddie Del Barrio and myself. And, it was a wild experience. And that was one of the songs that was on Art and Survival.
Yeah, and it's an incredible record. I encourage everybody. You've had such a massive musical output from your own recordings over the years, going back to the Palo Alto days, and but certain records. I think that's a little bit lesser known recording of yours, although it's one of your best known songs also.
Yeah, it kind of has a cult following, and it's really interesting because it keeps coming up. And that song, interestingly enough, like you can go on YouTube and you'll see, people who have, done dance routines and, competition. It was on So You Think You Can Dance. I think when, I forgot the year, it was the early 2000s when Hillary Clinton went, or actually it might have been earlier than that, to China for this big giant women's conference. It was the song that led the conference. So it's always kind of been under the surface, but she just brought it out into the, into the universe. So that was really nice. And I told her, I was so thankful because it was in a moment where, this is a moment that she had been waiting for. And in that specific moment, here she was, thanking all of these people, but at the same time, she was receiving her roses and giving roses to other people. And I happened to be one of those people. So I thought it was a glorious moment.
No, absolutely. And I don't know if you talked with her about this at all, but it certainly had, when I saw the replay on it, it had the feeling of being just a spontaneous outburst by her, almost like, and I mean, I know she's a great actress, so maybe she had this plan, I don't know how that worked.
She didn't know that she was going to win. If you see there's a whole video, she just kind of gathered herself. We did a thing for the LA Times on this together, and she kind of gathered herself. And then, that's what, and like I said, she had been singing this song for years, you know, and then like all of a sudden, that was the thing that led, her acceptance speech. And I don't think she planned it because I don't think she thought she was even winning. So it was, and she felt that moment as a moment of culmination of like her entire career and what she's been trying to do in her career. And here it was that she received this Emmy.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, it's such in this day and age of, social media and everything flying around, all this negativity, to have, as you said, your phone, everybody's phone blowing up and like, did you see Dianne? Because I got the message, the same thing. It was like, did you see Dianne Reeves? I was like, Diane's at the end. Like, it kind of got conflated, but to have something so cool and spontaneous and just soul inducing kind of positivity in a way that doesn't normally happen, to see the algorithm take over on that is a really thrilling thing.
Yeah. Man, I did so many interviews, Access Hollywood, Essence Mag. I mean, it just kept, it was in Rolling Stone. I mean, it was just everywhere. It was amazing. But the thing that really got me more than anything is when it happened, it's like all of these people who knew what that song was started putting out on social media, that's Dianne Reeves' song. Mm-hmm. And that blew me away. And that's how it ended up coming to me, is because of people that knew.
Well, so, we on the show, we talk to a lot of musicians. The show is for musicians trying to make their best music. And that moment, really, to me, it speaks to the power of honesty. This is an honest moment for you in 1994 to compose that. And it's just, it keeps coming back because of that raw, honest emotion. I encourage everybody to go check out the lyrics, go listen to it, go read the lyrics, and you'll get a sense of that kind of, authenticity. It's timeless. So.
And I was just looking back at because I wanted to make sure, because I was like, Bird Alone. I thought that was on Art and Survival. That's what I'm saying. That whole record is a banger, which, Abby Lincoln's Bird Alone, Dianne has an incredible, that's one of my go-tos when I'm just like, I need some power of emotion and humanity in terms of hearing your voice, but that connection with the tradition with Abby, but in a new way. Old Souls. A lot of this stuff I got. Come to the River. We used to play that way back in the day. Fantastic. That's Eddie's arrangement, isn't it, on there?
No, actually, that's mine.
Oh, that's yours. Wow, such a great band. The whole thing. But your guys' collaboration, your stuff, and Munyongo, everybody. It's a great one for folks to rediscover. For, of course, Endangered Species, but you'll find some other gems around there too. I would encourage.
And then Dianne, you just finished doing a film score to a new movie that just was released in the last couple of weeks called The Woman King, directed by Gina Price Blythewood. Yeah, who directed Love and Basketball. And it stars Viola Davis, and Terrence Blanchard scored the music and brought you in. You recorded in Scotland, you said?
Yeah, it was the last minute. We were up somewhere and in Northern California. He said, can you come to Scotland? Because I was on my way home, and I was like, yeah, for what? He's like, doing the woman thing. So I ended up getting there the day before, so I got a chance to rest. The next day, I was at the studio from 12 to like 4 in the morning, and at 5:30, I left and came back to the States. Wow. Well, Gina really, really liked the work that I had done, so she wanted me to do more, so she set it up in a studio here in Denver. And so I ended up doing other parts of the film. And what it was all of this, and, Peter, you know how we do on stage. It was some of the wordless, emotional, improvisation things that I do. And that's what he wanted in this film. And it felt so amazing because Gina would show me, a clip. This is what's happening. This is what she's doing. This is the emotion. So I'd look at the clip and then interpret the emotion and improvise these wordless things that really would, be the undertone or the subtext of what she's feeling. And so it was incredible because, like, we've done that on stage, but I have never had the opportunity to have a space like this that was inviting me to be able to do this kind of work. So it was exciting, So I did several, it's about, in the film itself, there's at least like about 8 or 9 minutes of me in different sections, which is a lot. And then at the end, I just, get a chance to just let go and be, So it was really nice. The score was magnificent. And, I'm very thankful to Terrence for inviting me to be a part of it.
Well, I mean, I think, Terrence always has such a great, how it is with Terrence. I'm sure this was probably your experience with this. Like, there's really no line between the hang and the friendship and then the music. And then I think he has such a good feel for what you and other great artists can bring to a cinematic experience. And I can't wait to see this because I've always thought, your voice, lends itself to so many different things, but it has such a cinematic quality. And then your natural storytelling ability, which is always intertwined with that. It sounds like kind of a perfect match.
It was really wonderful. And it makes me, just recently I was at the Biennale in Venice, my first time in Venice. And there were all these, installations from all over the world. And in England, there was an installation of vocal work doing this exact same thing, So it was really, really cool to see, that voice is it's the first instrument and it's being used as what it is, as an instrument. So sometimes it's just about sound and wordless, emotion and improvisation, just like, a horn or, a piano or what have you. So it's really, really nice to see this starting to be a part of everything.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, having seen your work and being able to be there when you were so beautifully featured on Good Night and Good Luck by George Clooney, even though that was kind of a period piece and a very, biopic or almost like a, it was depicting actual people and
very specific.
Very specific. Yeah. But because, we do call him George, just so you know. I'm talking about George Clooney. George gave you, remember he was basically like, because you were like, wait, how long is this? And he was just like, whatever you're feeling, you should go a little long. Like, he was so much freer than I think we were expecting. And it really highlighted your ability, which very few vocalists would be able to do. Like, you kind of got more excited and more inspired. I remember, and the more freedom you had, it was like, oh, cool. All right, I'm going to do this.
Well, the fact that we were like delivering, like we were doing it just like the actors. The music was live in the film. I thought I was going to have to record and then go back and learn what I did, which I was really dreading. He was like, this is live. And that, to trust some, I was like, that's my element, And so, so as we, continue to feel more comfortable, we continue to do what we do naturally.
Right. But that's becoming like, I always like talking about these things. And that's why I said you're such a great spokesperson for the music beyond just, your artistry, is because these kinds of stories, these ways of doing things, it's not getting lost with the younger singers and the younger musicians. But if we don't talk about it and show them, because it is a more isolated world, people, you can learn Dianne Reeves with your wonderful chorus to find your voice available on Open Studio. It's like you can feel like, oh, I've gotten everything from Dianne because I saw it in the thing, but it's like there's so much more there in the moment if you're ready to pounce on all that.
Yeah.
And one thing that the three of us share is the fact that we came up on records and CDs where people, talked about their work on their actual work, on the CD covers, on the album covers. And so there was like a lot more, information. And I think it's really unfortunate because then you could kind of, get an idea of how things worked in the studio, who did what, how they did it, what it was about, what was the inspiration, all of those kinds of things. And now, that just doesn't exist. And it's really that part is kind of sad to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully, even these kinds of discussions, the younger folks will look at this as like their album cover, the back of the album cover, like you said, and hopefully treasure it in that way. Cause it's stuff that we don't take it for granted, but we assume they know and they don't always know.
Right. Exactly. And so things like this is important. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Well, I was going to say, hearing your description of what you were doing, scoring The Woman King, because you were no lyrics, right? You were just improvising melody.
He would play the music. I had never heard the music. And so I would listen to it and then, of course, listen to the dialogue and see what was going on. Because there's a lot of brutality in the film, but there's a lot of love and sweetness and strength. There's all kind of stuff. It's just everything. So it was just it was like interpreting a song or interpreting what they were doing. I was the song and they were the lyrics and the action. And so I was like, kind of like the underneath that pushes it forward. And that felt amazing. I was accompanying, in a lot of ways. So in a lot of ways I can relate to you because what we have together, Peter, the way that we play together, there's this give and take and call and answer, call and response kind of thing that propels us forward constantly. I sing something, you hear it, then you'll play something off of that and it becomes a conversation. So it was like that kind of experience.
I was going to say, it kind of reminds me, what's the Pat Metheny song that you all did?
Minwanu.
Minwanu?
Yeah.
Is that the name of it?
Right.
Yeah. So for our Open Studio members, on Dianne's chorus to Find Your Voice, there's a lesson or maybe even two on this Pat Metheny song where you're doing exactly that. Everybody's got big ears and you and Romero are listening so intently and there's a back and forth between it and you're just being in the moment singing what you're hearing.
Well, one of the things that I try to tell students all the time is this is a living art form. It is like you come with your tools ready and you engage and you have conversation. And it's this intimate exchange that happens between everyone on stage, which makes the music, unique from night to night. Each performance is different. And just to remember that and to trust and listen to one another and create something every night. And you don't have to go back and do what you did the night before. You can go from there. We were talking just recently. Sometimes when we would come on the stage after a long day of travel, everybody is just tired, hungry, feeling emotionally destroyed. We have
angry too.
Gigs, it's the best gigs because there's a way to channel all of those feelings in the music. We're all on one accord and it doesn't come off the way that we feel. It comes off in a way that we feel like kind of grace in the situation.
It's almost a sanctuary at that point.
Absolutely.
It's away from all that other stuff. It's
yes.
a place to, yeah.
All right. So I'd like to just ask you about, these are just things I'm thinking of. I mean, it's always so exciting to talk with you about this stuff, but talking about collaborations and Terrence and stuff, there's two other collaborations that I witnessed. This is probably, I know it's among literally hundreds that you've had, really special moments with different musicians. And I think folks, because you're such a great band leader beyond being just a great vocalist, but you also have crafted great bands and know how to work in a band situation so brilliantly. But people always see you out front, and you're out there doing the thing. But some of your collaborations, two in particular I'm thinking of. One I just watched recently because I was doing a video, and that was with Roy Hargrove R.I.P. Our brother, our other leader, Roy, who just had a birthday. That's why we've been talking about a lot. But on "You Go to My Head," and I believe it was from that festival up by Hamburg. But there's a great YouTube of it, and you've done that with some other with Wynton. I've heard that was beautiful, and with Terrence. But what you
and with Nicholas Payton.
And Nicholas Payton, right? Basically, the who's who of like this generation's trumpet players, and they were all wonderful. Yeah, the original was Nicholas on the record.
Yes, exactly.
On A Little Moonlight. But that performance with Roy, like you and Roy had a connection and a rapport that was through music that was just magical. And seeing that again, I was reminded of that. And I don't know if you remember, but the first time we ever played together was with Roy Hargrove in Los Angeles in 1994. And I didn't realize, when you were a special guest with
Roy.
You
were in his band, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know you played with him at different times, but you guys it wasn't like you were playing together all the time. But whenever you did come together, it was a connection through the music that was just extraordinary. We'll link to that video. But I don't know. Have you seen that lately or thought about that? Or
I've seen it. The thing that's so interesting about Roy is, Abbie Lincoln always said jazz is a spirit. And it's so true. And some people are just like real clear conduits. They just come open, ready to plug in. And one thing I know about Roy is that he stayed plugged in. I mean, life, music was life was music. And so when you get up, even if there weren't many words said, there was this understanding and this agreement of joining together. That's how I always felt when I did anything with him. And I wanted to hear what it was that he had to say. And I knew that he wanted to hear what I had to say. And the way that he speaks to people through music is different. Each person is a different kind of way that he speaks through music. And so, and he knew so many songs. I mean, he knew what the emotion of the song was, but he also knew that the emotion of the song was beyond the words and more about what we were experiencing in that moment. And that's how I felt as well. So, I've listened to Roy sometimes where I've been driving and had to just pull off to the side of the road because, his way is so powerful and so clear and so honest and authentic, just always, Yeah. So I miss him.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's so beautifully put. And I've started thinking about Roy in a way that I realized I always thought about him, but like he was like the conscience of our generation of musicians. I mean, we met when we were in high school. So I look at him, but I always looked at him as an elder. Like we were the same age, but because of his, his connection, but like his dedication to the music, it went beyond just this. He really continues to be that, like, and it's not about seriousness. We know he was super like playful and like in the moment and whatever was appropriate, but like his dedication to music and, as you said, plugged in. He was plugged into the matrix of music in a way that was very profound.
Yeah, and always open to it. He was just there for it to happen. So yeah, absolutely.
The other musician, one of the many other collaborations, but one that I think about often is your several collaborations, duets, spontaneous improvisations with Bobby McFerrin. And a couple of them I saw from the side of the stage, and one or two I actually got to participate and play with you guys. But and I just want to paint the picture for everybody. For you, Dianne's probably like, oh, it's just another singer sitting in, whatever, we're doing our thing, But I mean, we're not talking about any preparations. I don't think there was any discussion about what was going to happen. I mean, like you guys came to the stage or you brought him on like total clean slate. It was just like total ears and like, what is the moment going to bring? But what you guys created, and we were just kind of trying to hang on for dear life. I was actually trying not to play anything, and you kind of looked at me, and I was like, oh shit, I got to join. Okay, because I didn't want to mess it up, because you guys, it was like your ears and Bobby's ears just got so big, and like that connection was there, but challenging each other too. But just the spontaneous, and and the crowd just, you had them in the palm of your hands, but in a way they weren't like jumping up and down. They were just like drawn to what you guys were doing. And I saw it 3 times, so I know it wasn't like a fluke. But I just wonder, have you done anything with him recently? Is there any plans more? And what's your thoughts on
Just up in California to go see the great Milton Nascimento's farewell concert, and right down the street, Bobby McFerrin's name was on the billboard, and they said that he comes there, I guess, every Friday, and he does these vocal things. And I thought, I don't know how long that's going to last because he lives up there, but I think I might just fly back up there just to do that. The thing that I love about Bobby is that, him like myself, we deal with this, what I call cellular memory, like how you know how to do things without knowing how you know how to do it, something that propels you forward that you remember from like before you were even, here, but you feel it and you do it and you bring it forth. And so every time, I am in a position to be with him, I always say that the stage is our sacred space. When I'm with Bobby, it's like, gosh, we could just go on forever, because we kind of live and we're kind of cut from the same cloth in that way. And we recognize one another in that space. And so it just makes it easy to just go into that space and say, look, we may not be able to get back, but we're going to just keep moving forward and boldly go, where we've never been before. And that's the thing that I love. I think that this music, it is so important to jump off. It is so important to, to find yourself out in a space and, to keep exploring, even though you've never been there. And, and even if you have a fear of being in the space, even jump further, because you're going to find what you're made of, what you have to give, and what you have to say.
Beautifully said.
Okay. So that's some stuff for our listeners to shed on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Caleb, did you write that down? That was, yeah. And that space can be frightening to some people, but you're right. It's affirming to be out there and to survive, or not.
Right. Right. But the thing is, you come back here and, it's amazing. That's how I started. When I used to work with Billy Childs, we used to be at the Comeback Inn. We didn't get paid. It was just an opportunity to have a stage to work things out. And that was the whole thing of just jumping off every night and, just flying and seeing where you land and finding what you're made of. And then different musicians would come in. And, every musician has their own, what I say, universe, or their own, way that they experience rhythm and harmonies. Everybody has their own way that they speak. And it's no different than what we're doing like right now, And so, you have people that come and they play, and you start to hear music in another kind of way that you didn't know you could hear it like that, because that's the way they sound. And so all those kind of things are extremely important.
Well, Dianne, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the discussion, for the inspiration as always. And, I'll just direct folks to, normally it's like, go check out a latest release. You can go check out whatever, but Art and Survival, which now is such a prescient title that you had back in 1994 with Endangered Species. But what you're talking about, obviously you've done well more than just survived. You've thrived, but, to be able to have, that kind of understanding at that age, at that time in your career was amazing. And the art that you've created, we're all the better for it. So
yeah, congrats on that. Congrats on The Woman King.
Yeah, everybody go check that out.
The Woman King.
Streaming soon, if not already.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing. Terry Lynn Carrington just came out with 101, a real book of all women composers. And that's so exciting, because they asked her, do you even know if there's 101 or 100 women that, and she, the look on her face was like, are you kidding?
Right.
So it's really, really, really nice that, and I'm glad to be a part of it as well. So it's been a lot of good things that have been happening. The music is growing and moving forward. There are a lot of exciting young artists that are out there doing it and killing the game, So this is an exciting time.
Absolutely. And the 101, which of your compositions is featured in that?
It's Tango is in there.
Tango. Oh, awesome. Okay, so that'll be cool. And that's like Berkeley Press or something like that.
Yes.
Publishing. Yeah. So folks can check that out. I know that's available now. So, well, great, Dianne. Thank you. Continued blessings and joy to you.
I really, this was really, really nice. I wish interviews were like this because people ask some stupid ass questions. But
this
you know,
we're like straddling the line between. It's like
15 more minutes.
Well, I mean, no. It's like by a love fest for you and being real journalists. We're definitely more on the love fest side.
But the most important thing is conversation, and you know, and we know how we talk to each other, and that's the thing that brings out more than anything in people that want to, that makes them want to talk. So, yeah.
Well, it's kind of like podcasts getting kind of bigger now, whatever. I was telling somebody the other day, they were like, yeah, your podcast is blowing up. And how did you learn about this? And I said, well, I used to the radio stuff, but I said, I worked for many years with Dianne Reeves, and she's like amazing singer on stage, but she's kind of been like a podcast on stage before there was podcast, because when you feel the vibe, if the audience is right, you'll start telling stories, spontaneous things. And sometimes people are like, didn't you hear that story before? I'm like, yeah, but not like that. It was different tonight. So it's like, whenever you're ready for your own podcast, we're ready for you at Open Studio.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dianne.
Yeah, be well, Dianne.
You guys take care. All the best. Talk
You'll
soon.
hear it. You'll hear it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, currently.
I'm in Indianapolis.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Andrew, hi.
Because I feel inspired to play something else from your playing.
Okay, that's great.
I think using the metronome is a great tool, but it's not the only tool.
All of the answers are really in the music.
What does it mean to live in a groove, be in a groove?
Until next time, happy practicing.